Bye. Bye, Birdie. Safe travels. Okay. Love you. I mean, not like, like love ya, like as a friend. Love you. I am undone. There is no living, none if Bertram be away. 'Twere all one that I should love a bright particular star and think to wed it. He is so above me. In his bright radiance and collateral light must I be comforted, not in his sphere. The ambition in my love thus plagues itself. 'Twas pretty, though plague, to see him every hour, to sit and draw his arched brow, his hawking eye, his curls in our heart's table, heart too capable of every line and trick of his sweet favour. But now he's gone, and my idolatrous fancy must sanctify his relics. Oh, who comes here? Oh, one that goes with him. I love him for his sake, and yet I know him a notorious liar.
What?
Hey!
Hey, save you, fair queen.
And you, monarch.
No.
And no.
Were you meditating on virginity?
You have some shred of soldier in you. Let me ask you a question. Man is enemy to virginity. How may we barricado it against him?
Keep him out.
Well, unfold to us some warlike resistance.
There is none. Man sitting down before you will undermine you and blow you up.
Oh, bless our poor virginity from underminers and blowers up. Well, is there no military policy how virgins might blow up men?
Virginity being blown down, man will quickly be blown up. Marry, in blowing him down again with the breach yourselves made, you lose your city. It is not politic in the commonwealth of nature to preserve virginity. Loss of virginity is rational increase, and there never was virgin got till virginity was first lost. That you were made of is metal to make virgins. Virginity, by being once lost, may be 10 times found. By being ever kept, it is ever lost. It is to call the companion away with it.
I'll stand for it a little. So therefore, I die a virgin.
There's little can be said in to speak on the part of virginity is to accuse your mothers, which is most infallible disobedience. Virginity breeds mites, much like a cheese. Besides, virginity is peevish, proud, idle, made of self-love, which is the most inhibited sin in the canon. You cannot choose but lose by it. Out with it.
How might one do, sir, to lose it to her own liking?
Let me see. It's ill to like him that ne'er likes you. Oh, hey, virginity, like a old courtier who wears a cap out of fashion. Is richly suited, but unsuitable. And your virginity, your old virginity, is like one of our French withered pears. It looks ill. It eats dryly. Marry, 'tis a withered pear. It was formerly better, yet 'tis a withered pear. Will you anything with it?
Not my virginity yet. Soon shall your master have 1,000 loves, a mother and a mistress and a friend. Now shall he... Well, I know not what he shall. God send him well. The court's a learning place, and he is one to...
What one in faith?
That I wish well. It's pity.
What's pity?
Well, that wishing well had not a body in't that might be felt. That we, the poorer born, whose baser stars do shut us up in wishes, might with effects of these follow our friends, and show what we alone must think, which never return us thanks.
Farewell, little Helen. If I can remember thee, I'll think of thee at court.
Yeah, you were born under a charitable star.
Under Mars, I
especially think under Mars.
Why under Mars? It's like,
The wars have so kept you under that you must needs be born under Mars.
when he was predominant.
When he was retrograde, I think, rather.
Why think you so?
You go so much backward when you fight.
Hey, that's for advantage.
Oh, yeah, so is running away when fear proposes the safety.
I'm so full of businesses, I cannot answer thee acutely. I will return, perfect courtier, in the which my instruction shall serve to naturalize thee, so that will be capable of a courtier's counsel, and understand what advice shall be thrust upon thee, else thou diest in thine own ignorance. Farewell, say thy prayers, get thee a good husband, and use him as he uses thee, and so farewell. Sorry, just got to get out. Leave meeting, bye.
Our remedies oft in ourselves do lie, which we ascribe to heaven. The fated sky gives us free scope, only doth backward pull our slow designs when we ourselves are dull. What power is it which mounts my love so high that makes me see and cannot feed mine eye? The mightiest place in fortune nature brings to join like likes and kiss like native things. Impossible be strange attempts by those that weigh their pains in sense, and do suppose what hath been cannot be. The king's disease. My project may deceive me, but my intents are fixed and will not leave me.
Trust you loved our second performance there, something of a letter to 2020 as we see it out, I hope. And it now falls to me to respond to John's brilliant presentation. I feel something of a clown coming on after Leah, but it'll be a few moments of response from me, and then we'll move over to some question and answer time where we can think a bit more about how you're responding to the ideas that John has presented. I'm Liam Semler. I'm Professor of Early Modern Literature in the English department here at the University of Sydney. And I really did want to say thanks so much, John, for a brilliant presentation, beautifully delivered and so full of wonderful ideas, just fantastic. I can see the talk coming out of a lifetime's experience, and that's what made it so powerful. And that phrase, landscapes of the mind, I found that so evocative. There were two things that I particularly thought about from your paper. One was just the vast array of landscapes functioning as settings, whether they might be in dreams or whether they're just settings around the characters, but also the vast array of minds, the fascinating array of minds. And these minds are implied by the extraordinary characters. We see these extraordinary characters through Shakespeare's plays, and we infer these incredible minds. Regarding the settings, the Forest of Arden, as was mentioned in As You Like It, to the battlefields of France, Henry V, to that mysterious island that appears so differently to the characters in The Tempest, to the sprawling empires in Antony and Cleopatra, and the blasted landscape and storm of King Lear. And as John showed, the list goes on and on. But as for the minds, Shakespeare's achievement is second to none. When we consider these characters who populate his landscapes and create his plots and his stories and make them so compelling century after century, it's mind-blowing. We hear the words of these characters and we see their actions, and we know they are not mere personifications of abstract qualities, but rather the characters we're looking at seem minded, and their minds captivate us. In fact, their minds captivate and speculate about each other's minds. Their minds manipulate each other or try to. Their minds baffle even themselves on self-reflection. And Hamlet is, of course, the most high profile of these, as he lays out the landscape of his mind in troubled soliloquy after troubled soliloquy, by far the longest play, and one that seemingly Shakespeare expected people to sit through, and they do. And there are so many characters whose behaviour we find compelling, so compelling that we find ourselves time and again asking, what would it be like to inhabit that mind? Those othered figures, Caliban or Shylock or Malvolio or Othello or Antonio in Merchant of Venice. What would it be like to be in those minds? Or those criminal minds of Iago, Richard III, that vice who goes to become a tyrant, the comedian who goes on to commit atrocities we can't agree with. Or Macbeth, that criminal mind that's so anxious. Or Lady Macbeth. And then there are these other female characters with these tantalizing and disparate minds. Portia, Rosalind, Beatrice, Gertrude. There's a mystery, that one. Ophelia, Cordelia. We feel this magnetism to find out what it's like to be in the minds of these characters. Or even, to conclude with the names, Falstaff. That's a mind that almost comes and gets us, envelops us in its fat suit and takes us away. Or Coriolanus. What would it be like to be him? Or Bottom. But what you've shown us, John, is that we can't really separate physical landscapes from the mindscapes. And they're all woven together into the fabric of each play. And they contribute to the play's atmospherics, to the aesthetics, to the ambience and tone. When we ask, what is it like to be a character? We immediately imagine that character in their context, as you showed. These are worlded characters. They have a complex, natural and social home. And these homes nourish them and also starve them in various ways. And that's another aspect of Shakespeare's imaginative achievement. To get anywhere close to understanding, for example, Titus Andronicus, we must somehow get his savage context. Or to get Pistol and Bardolph and Mistress Quickly is really simultaneously to get their contexts. And obviously Lear's storm is within and without the mind. And Hamlet's dis-ease runs in his veins, yet it also permeates rotting Denmark. And Macbeth's terrible criminal mind and impulses, as you've indicated, John, he writhes in this landscape that's dark, or twilight, or dusk, or half-waking, a half-recognised landscape. And then Caliban and Ariel. These are conduits of nature and supernature. And as an actor and director and theatre maker, you know these characters so deeply because you're tasked with materialising them. You inhabit their inner landscapes and you bring to life their interactions and their stories within their worlds, on stages, so that audiences like us can take them into our minds and our feelings. And you know, by that collaborative endeavour of theatre making, that performances all vary and differ. And enacted plays, night after night or day after day, are metamorphic, like unfolding or repeating dreams, And yet, as diverse and weird or wild as they seem when we wake up, those dreams, those plays are compelling or natural or somehow real during the experience. And audiences watching those plays receive the characters and the settings together as a plausible aesthetic ensemble and experience. They go away with Lear and Cordelia's tragedy, but the audience also goes away with the heath and the storm. They go away with Hamlet's tragic demise, but they also go away with the sullied flesh and the unweeded garden that fed it. Audiences take away in their minds landscaped plays, landscaped by theatre makers like you, plays made real by the extraordinary collaborative artistic process. So thank you, John, so much for your lifetime's contribution and creativity and leadership in giving Australians that full experience of Shakespeare's landscapes of the mind. And in addition to giving theatrically, just now you've given us so much to reflect on in terms of the Shakespeare Memorial Lecture. I'll just mention a couple of key points to finish with that really struck me, and then I'll hand over to my colleague, Professor Jackie Manuel, to handle the question and answer. The sheer poetry of Shakespeare's creation of landscapes, and your quoting shows that so well, that the sheer poetry, the genius of his writing. The prevalence of night, particularly in tragedy, in this era before streetlights disenchanted night and on a daylight stage. And also the inventiveness by which we can and we should design and perform these texts. Shakespeare's plays demand much and they give much. And as you say, we can rise to the challenge. We can deliver these plays. And that is such an uplifting creative thought. And finally, the virtue of the empty stage. That will be the final point I'll end with, especially for audiences, and especially now when we're so overloaded by information streams, particularly visual information streams. I think Shakespeare's poetry on an empty stage with professional actors has so much to give an audience because the audience has work to do. But thank you so much, John.